With Winota and Trickery locked away for the time being, a new boogeyman has risen to the top of the Explorer metagame. Sporting around a 65% win rate according to AetherHub statistics as of this recording, Mardu Vehicles, led by Greasefang Okiba Boss, is a deck that we should be wary of being struck by the banhammer next. But what should be done to the deck? Neuter it into being more fair, or simply destroying the deck and tossing Greasefang into a cell next to Winota until more cards are added to the format? At a glance, both Naya Winota and Mardu Vehicles play in a similar fashion, where the goal is to hit a legendary creature that allows the deck to pop off, smash your opponent in the face for tons of damage early in the game, usually around turns 3 to 4. But does that mean Greasefang deserves Winota's fate? Let's take a look and see if there's any alternatives to completely banning Greasefang from Explorer. So what could be removed from a deck to slow it down? Well, the primary culprit in this deck would be Parhelion 2, the legendary artifact vehicle that when it attacks, creates 2 4/4 angel tokens also attacking. During the time in Standard, this thing was a terrible card, nobody played it. I barely ever even seen it in Commander, let alone at a Standard table. Now it's one of the most powerful vehicles you can actually get into your graveyard for a Greasefang deck, because then as early as turn 3, you have 13 damage coming for you, all flying evasive stuff, and there's not really much you can do about it. To neuter the red, I do believe that this is the top target of a banning if they wanted to keep the Greasefang deck intact. The issue is that simply trying to neuter this deck from being explosive is not going to work. And nor does the deck actually need to stay in the Mardu color spectrum to actually be that explosive either. For example, how does this sound? Turn 2, Rotting Regisaur into a turn 3, discard Essica's Chariot to the Regisaur's trigger, play Greasefang on the same turn, bring the Chariot back, crew it with Greasefang, and then swing for 11 with the Chariot and the Regisaur. And then at the end of turn, you're returning that Chariot back to your hand, and now it's ready to discard the Regisaur for the next turn. Sounds like Magical Christmas Land? No, I've actually done this on Arena. I have the deck built, and that line of play usually results in a scoop of somebody seeing it coming at them. And on top of that, you're also leaving behind 2 cat tokens every time you do this cycle. It's just going to keep building and building and building until eventually you're going to steamroll somebody. That said, I seriously think Greasefang is going to get bonked in the head by the banhammer, because these souped up vehicles existing in Explorer when they weren't any good before warps the deck into something that it just shouldn't have happened. There's not any souped up, busted as all get out vehicles in Standard for her to kind of break with, except for maybe the Chariot itself. That said, I do think that both the Winota ban and the likely Greasefang ban should only apply to best of 1 play. Winota was banned because in best of 1 you needed to warp your deck with cards that basically were sideboard playable only in order to survive long enough to combat the deck. You're talking about like your Red Cap Melee, your Ray of Enfeeblement, things like that should only come in out of a sideboard. Well, you don't have sideboard access in best of 1, so you had to main deck them, which weakened the deck against other decks. And you're also looking at a similar situation with Greasefang, where you have to kind of board things in or extra cards that you probably wouldn't have in a best of 3 scenario. In best of 3, I think you can leave these cards behind and not ban them, because you have your sideboard for games 2 and 3. You keep the game 1 version of the deck not screwed up for the other matchups, and then you can sideboard in the answers that you need if you are playing against Mardu Vehicles or Naya Winota. So, that said, what are your guys' thoughts? Should any of the cards be banned? Should none of them be banned? Are you sick of looking at Winota and Greasefang? What are your thoughts? Go ahead and leave a comment below. Let me see what ideas you might have. Maybe I missed something. Maybe there's something else that needs banned that could leave the decks intact in best of 1. If you like what I'm doing here, I'd appreciate a sub or even a like on the video. It helps the channel grow, and as always, have a great day.